Good morning. We will pay attention to prepaid expenses today. An entity may from time to time be obliged to pay some current expenses in advance. So if you rent a building, one of the rules are that you have to pay your rent in advance for the next month. Or your annual insurance premium will be paid in advance, because if you haven't paid your insurance, they will not pay out any money if there is theft, burglary, or a fire. So it means that at the end of the financial year, you already paid expenses for the next financial year. Then an entry must be completed to remove this prepaid expense from your nominal account and show it as an asset, because we already paid something for the next financial year. The accounting transaction will be debit prepaid expense, because prepaid expense is an asset and assets increase on the debit side. You will credit insurance to reduce the insurance, because included in your nominal account is an amount that's not for the current year. At the beginning of the next financial year, you will do a reverse entry, and you will swap over the entry that you did at the end of the year by debiting insurance, showing that some of the expense for that second year is already paid, and to close off the prepaid expense account, because it is just an account, temporary asset that we created so that we could complete our financial statements. The following information were obtained from the financial statements for the year ended 30 June 2015. On 30 June, the balance in the insurance account was 2,100. This amount consists of two insurance premiums. One is for 1,200 and an annual premium payable on the 1st of October 2014. The outstanding insurance is for a premium for 9 months payable on 1 March 2015. If we look at the first payment, we paid it on the 1st of October, and it was for 9 months, so it goes on until the 30th of June 2015. 9 months is in the current year, so the 1,200 will be divided by 12 to work out what is the amount per month, and then the 100 will be multiplied with 9 months that's in the current year, so it means 900 Rand is part of the expense for the current year. On the 1st of March 2015, a premium was paid for 9 months that will carry on until the 30th of November. Of the total 2,100, 1,200 was paid for the first premium, so it means I take my total minus the first premium of 1,200, and that means my second insurance policy is 900 divided by 9 to work out it's 100 Rand per month. 4 months is in the current financial year from March up to 30 June, and that will give me 400 Rand. The total insurance for the current financial year that should be recorded in the profit and loss account is 1,300 Rand. Prepaid expenses is the amount that was paid in advance for the next financial year. Our total expense is 2,100. We calculated that 1,300 is for the current year, so it means we already paid 800 Rand for the following year. We will debit prepaid expenses with 800, so we create an asset because we paid the expense for the following financial year. We will credit insurance to reduce the expense. Then we will look at the total amount that must go to the profit and loss account. So the 1,300 expense for the current year is transferred from the insurance account to the profit and loss account. On the first day of the next financial year, you will do a reverse entry, debiting the insurance with 800 and crediting prepaid expenses. So the entry that we created at the end of the year will be reversed on the first day of the second year. In the insurance account at the end of the financial year, we have a balance of 2,100. We calculated that included in this 2,100 is 800, that's not for the current year. So we have to remove it from our expense account so that we can work out what is the actual amount that will go to the profit and loss account. This profit and loss figure is my expense for the year if there was no prepaid or accrued amounts, just the correct figure. That is the figure that goes into the profit and loss account and in the income statement. For the prepaid expense, we will create an asset that will go to the balance sheet as a current asset to show that we paid expenses for the next financial year, so next year we don't have to pay the expenses. On the first day of the next financial year, I have to close this prepaid expense account, so I will credit the account and transfer this information to my insurance account on the debit side to complete my double entry. And if we look at the insurance account, what did we actually do there? We had paid an amount of 2,100. We determined that only 1,300 is for the current year, so we actually worked out a balancing figure, and we said that there's 800 that's not for the current year, and that 800 must go to the prepaid expense account. So it means that we actually carried down 800 above the total, and we bring it down on the debit side below the total. When we look at the books at the beginning of the second year, we see that we already paid 800 Rand for expenses for insurance, and then we will just carry on in that account paying expenses during the year. An entry must be completed for expenses prepaid for the following year to create an asset prepaid expense. That will decrease the expense for the current year, and we can see what is the amount that will be shown as a prepaid expense in the balance sheet. On the first day of the next financial year, a reverse entry must be completed to close this temporary asset and to transfer it back to the expense account so that you can see in the second year that you already paid some of the expense for the second year.